We got Gators breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
Well, we're certainly not dull right now with fall camp. Right here with another episode of Gators Breakdown. And man, there's just fall camp happening. That means we got lots to talk about. Billy Napier spoke to the media today right here on this Monday, right after the Gators had that open practice on Saturday. Lagway was on the field for the first time, so of course he was going to be asked about that. And some other things. I thought some good things revealed and some news items revealed here from Billy Napier on Monday. We'll get into it all. Kam James, basically Billy Napier calling him a starter-like material right there at the edge spot, backing up Tyreek Sapp. The Gators think of him as a starter. We'll get into that. The safety room, the young guys in the safety room, we'll get into that conversation. Billy Napier saying, hey, these guys got to grow up pretty fast. And Gators 17th in the coaches poll that just released. The initial 2025 coaches poll. We get our first of, quote unquote official poll, even though it don't really matter because it's college football playoff, but still the polls that we go by most of the time to get ready for the season. So, all right here, David Waters right here on Gators Breakdown at GatorDave_SEC is where you can follow me on X. And speaking of that, just realized today, just crossed 50,000 followers on X. So, man, thank you all so much for the interaction on there. I mean, that's pretty much how I built the Gators Breakdown brand, was going back and taking Twitter seriously and X seriously, and that went a long way in helping grow this brand. So I can't thank you all enough for all the interaction on Twitter, on X, all that good stuff. Right here on YouTube as well, but like I said, that's kind of where the platform was built, right there on X. So 50,000, I never saw myself getting there or anything of the like, but thank you all for all the follows, all the interaction. It's been fun. You gotta take the good with the bad on the social media, but I control it about as best as I can. It's weird, but a lot of times it is what you make of it out there. So it is a different world. It's a crazy world. It's not real life, but it can help. It can help. It can help. I made a lot of good friends through Twitter and X. I mean, it's been good. It's been good. With that, so hit that like button right here on this episode of Gators Breakdown. Subscribe right here on YouTube as we're going live. Everybody, thanks for some comments right here, and leave some comments in the replay if you're going to catch the replay, and making sure you like, subscribe. Really, really, really helps us out right here. Night of Faith hopping in. What's up, Dale? Or hi, Dave. Hey, what's up? Matt Davis, Matt, I hope I'm saying that right. Either way, always happy to see Dave's notification pop up for a new vid. Yeah, like I said, going to be a little more consistent now with the season. All the kind of vacations are out of the way. I used the summertime to, outside of recruiting, try to not necessarily recharge the batteries. It's more spend time with family. Catch up on that, get ready, because not a lot of family time during football season. Family still comes first, don't get me wrong. But hey, we're about 4 weeks away from the season starting, so the family time, all the trips to Gainesville, all the episodes that come, it does take some time. So use the summertime for that. But yeah, hey, you guys know I'll throw the episodes out when I can. Mr. Bassman hit that like button. He says, Night of Fate says, yeah, I read the coaches poll 10 minutes ago. They sure have Florida at 17. Yeah, we were getting into that conversation. I think that caught some people by surprise, maybe how low Florida was in the initial poll right here, and maybe some teams that are in front of Florida. We'll get into every bit of that one, every bit of that. And my good friend Brandon Sanders right there, Gators drywall of Duval. Right there, he helped sponsor the Gator Independent Media Day that we had last week. So, Brandon, hey, thanks for hopping in right here on this episode of Gators Breakdown. Gator Drywall of Duval checking in right here with Brandon Sanders. Certainly, big thanks for their support for the Independent Gator Media Day that we held last week. All right, let's get into it. Let's hear from Billy Napier, and we won't spend too much time, and we talked about it a whole lot, of course, within the last week. The injury status of DJ Lagway. You caught me and my buddy Sponge last night on Gators Breakdown for the most recent episode when Lagway came back. He was on the field Saturday, of course, in the open portion of practice, and was tossing the ball around for the first time we've seen since the Gasparilla Bowl. But Billy Napier, of course, did not speak to the media on Saturday. Spoke to the media today on Monday. So a couple of days after, DJ Lagway was on the field for the first time in fall camp. Let's hear from the head man about Lagway's progress and seeing him on the field on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was good for you guys to see him. I think you guys were probably a little more relieved than anybody else. We've been watching the guy work all summer. Obviously had a little bit of a setback with the calf, but I think he's on the right track. And, he threw in public the other day, and everybody's all excited about that. But the guy's been working hard all summer, and certainly hopefully we can get him, he'll be able to do more and more as we go here day to day.
Day to day, that's a key word there, because we know Billy Napier, that's the label he put on DJ Lagway, day to day, going back a week ago when he spoke to the media for the first time to open fall camp. And another little key part of that, and I don't want to read too much into wording, but we will. It's talking season. It's just what we're going to do till we have some games to talk about. Billy Napier mentioning throwing in public for the first time. Now, that's not really in hidden news, but him to say it like that, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but we know going back to late May, DJ Lagway was starting to throw, and we've heard from various people, Lagway stuff. There was a video of him in Jacksonville over the summertime too, training here in Jacksonville and kind of helping change his mechanics, helping change his throwing motion to help save that shoulder a bit more, and maybe putting too much in the old mechanics of DJ Lagway, maybe putting too much stress on that shoulder. But we've heard all the way back to mid-May, like what Billy Napier told us going back to spring. Hey, yeah, he's not throwing spring, but in just a few weeks he's gonna be a-okay. He's gonna be ready to throw, and that's exactly what happened. We get to May, we get to about a month out of spring practice, and then DJ Lagway's throwing the ball, but we didn't see it in really public. This was the first time the masses, as I said, got to see it. This is the Gasparilla Bowl. So, and Billy Napier's right about that. Hey, he was talking to the media there. Yeah, it's the first time you guys got to see it. Maybe relieve some of you guys. Yeah, you dang right it relieved. It's always going to be in the back of our head till we actually see it. And it's still going to be in the back of our head till we actually see LIU, first game of the season. USF, second game of the season. LSU, the first big game of the season, game 3. It's going to be in the back of our... it's probably going to hang in the back of our heads anyway, because of all the injury conversation dating back to last year, missing spring, missing summer fall camp, or limited in spring, limited in fall camp. It's really going to hang in the back of our heads for a while. But when we see him out there on the field, when we see him out there with 90,000 in the swamp and 95 to 100,000 in Baton Rouge, we'll feel a little bit better. Now, I do feel a little bit better after seeing that on Saturday. It's the first time we've seen him throw publicly. First time we've seen him throw in that kind of setting. So, yeah, Billy Napier, you're right. It did relieve some concern that we have about the quarterback right there, and it was a great sight to see. DJ Lagway lofting that ball down the field to Trey Wilson on a dime, hitting those short intermediate routes. Look, that's not giving us the answer that DJ Lagway has fixed that part of his game, but it was good to see. It didn't matter if it was a short route, an intermediate route, down the field route. He was on the money. He was putting the ball where it needed to be. It was good to see. As a fan, as I said, when I started Gators Breakdown, and this will never change. It is fan first. So yeah, the orange and blue blood in me, the orange and blue glasses. It was great to see DJ Lagway out there Saturday. And then secondary, as a podcaster, as a media person, yeah, it was, because I want to see one of the best players in college football, who I think will be one of the best players in college football, out there on the field. So, like I said, won't spend too much time. Can't really say much more about the DJ Lagway situation than hasn't already been said. But with Billy Napier speaking on it today, we kind of had to get there, kind of had to hear what he had to say about that situation with Lagway being out there on the field on Saturday. So, all right, let's move forward a little bit. And Billy Napier talking about the edge room. And I merged another soundbite because just to kind of stay in the edge room, he was asked about Kam James and the type of player he is. So let's get to Billy Napier speaking about this edge room, the depth, the quality Florida has there, and the praise for one Kam James.
You know, I think that edge group is deep. It's competitive. We got good. I mean, that's a great room. You know, Mike Peace done a great job of kind of establishing expectations there. That room has really evolved in our time here, the character of that room. So to have guys like Gums and Sapp kind of set the tone, Kam James has great leadership traits. He almost is a coach perspective. And then here comes LJ in year 2, Jaden Woods. You know, so look, we that group is wants to be really good. They want to have a good team, and I think they've put the work in. Kam James is a starter in our mind. I mean, we see him as a guy who can go out there and play winning football. I mean, that's a room where there isn't a drop-off, you know. So that's one of the rooms where you can put the second player in there, you don't blink. So Kam James is he's got an incredible future in front of him. He's one of the best football players that we have.
One of the best football players we have, and he's backing up Tyreek Sapp. Another one of the best players Florida has on the roster. He's a starter in our mind, says Billy Napier. And, hey, look, yes, hey, only 11 guys can be on the field. So it is a good problem to have, or it's not a problem. It is a good scenario to be in if you're Florida, that you can say, all right, this guy, we got Tyreek Sapp, and we feel really good about Tyreek Sapp. He came back. He came back to help lead this team. But also another guy who plays behind him, Billy Napier, saying, hey, Kam James, he's got leadership qualities as well. But he's one of the best players on our team. And it gives you so many options at this edge spot, whether the guys are standing up in that F spot, or, standing up in the jack spot, or hand in the dirt in that F spot. But, hey, if you got somebody like Kam James and Florida needs some help on the interior, I don't think he's going to live there, but you can slide Tyreek Sapp in on some down and distance formations if he needs to help on the inside a bit. All right, well, Kam James, you can put your hand in the dirt. You can be the F. We'll slide Tyreek Sapp over in some situations. Now you got both guys on the field at the same time. But also, if Tyreek Sapp needs to come off the field, if he needs a breather, he's going to. You want to keep those guys fresh. We talked about it on the last episode of Gators Breakdown. And going back to what Billy Napier just said about this edge group, some guys that come off the field, and you feel just fine with the guys that are coming back out on the field to replace them. So whether it be getting creative in certain formations, in certain pressure packages, or whether it be guys that, hey, need a breather, we feel comfortable with the guy coming off the sideline. Florida can do a lot here. Get creative, not have guys keeping them fresh. I mean, I'm looking forward to see all the names here at this F spot, or at this edge spot. At the F spot, you got your Tyreek Sapp and your Kam James. Then at the jack spot, you've got George Gums, who we've been hearing a ton about. 5-star LJ McCray, hoping to taking a step in his second year. Hearing a lot about Jaden Woods. I mean, that's 5 names right there at this edge spot, whether it be the jack spot, whether it be the F spot, that we feel pretty darn good about. So if something does happen and a guy has to miss a game, miss a few series, you don't want to take a big hit there injury-wise, but you feel comfortable there's not going to be much of a fall-off. And for Kam James, I mean, kind of a quiet name so far. About 6'6", 270 pounds. Now, forget, he moved around a bit last year. So you got some versatility with him, with somebody like him and Tyreek Sapp. Guys that can play F, guys that can maybe slide in and play a little bit of defensive tackle. Maybe if you need them to stand up in certain pass rush situations at Jack, they can do that as well. But Tyreek Sapp and Kam James here, you got some versatility with these two guys. Kam James last year, 28 tackles, 4 for a loss. He had 2 sacks, 16 pressures. 16 pressures for Kam James. That was one of the highest marks on the team And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, in 3 tackles versus FSU, 3 tackles versus Tulane in his 28 tackles. So 6 of his 28 tackles came in the last 2 games of the year. So starting to put it together. And even before this, started hearing whispers that, hey, Florida feels pretty good about what they have here. And then Billy Napier just going at, hey, one of the best players we have. Pretty good. Pretty good there. So, you got maybe some depth concerns at defensive tackle. So maybe you have a Tyreek Sepp that slides over, a Kam James that slides over. But it wouldn't be a shock to see James play some interior reps as well. So good on him, putting the work in, going into his 3rd season. So you expect, if somebody would have to be relying on a whole lot more if Tyreek Sepp decided to go to the NFL. But now I think another year of him getting to play with Tyreek Sepp, learn from Tyreek Sepp, you already heard the leadership part of it, but Tyreek Sepp is just kind of the example you want of a guy. All right, it may not come to you right away. Year 1, year 2, you know what? Things might not go your way. You may not fill up the stat sheet, but you stick around, you do what we ask you to do, things are going to work out in the right way. So having Tyreek Sepp around another year for somebody like Kam James, and then hearing Billy Napier talk about both these guys in the way he does, should make you feel pretty good about what Florida has up front in that edge spot. All right, before we move forward, just because I kind of got the reminder there from Brandon, but thanks for hopping in, because 2nd episode in a row I forgot to do it. Got some new shirt. A new shirt right there at gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. Dun, 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 dun. Move back, you suck. There we go. New shirt right there, gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. Some other designs as well, getting you ready for football season. But that one right there, hey, it's been a pretty good seller so far. Been a pretty good seller so far. So everybody thanks if you've been one of the ones who've put the order in. Hopefully you get it pretty soon. But there we go. There we go. All right, let's keep this one moving. Lots to get into right here. So Napier was asked about the progress of safety Lagonza Hayward. And I was surprised where this one went. Where Napier decided to go with this one. So asked about Lagonza Hayward, then goes into the safety room. Here's what Billy Napier had to say.
A rookie that is starting to slow down a little bit. I think there's a lot to learn at that position. Him, Stubbs, and Caraway in particular. Those are 3 players that our team needs to really, we need to speed up their development. I don't know that we can do that, but we need those guys to be game ready. We need competitive depth at safety. We really have 4 starters, in that room with Gates and Denson and Castell and Thornton. And then, who are the next players? So 3 new players that really our team needs to step up. And obviously all 3 of those guys will be special teams players as well.
Well, I don't think we can say we don't get much out of these press conferences, because I think we got something there. That was one of the biggest takeaways for me from the whole media session here is, hey, we got to get these guys up to speed. I don't know if we can or not, but we got to do everything in our power to get these young guys, these young safeties up to speed. And remember now, MichaelCaraway, heading into fall camp, made the switch from corner to safety. So Lagonza Hayward, Drake Stubbs, MichaelCaraway Jr. It's pretty straight to the point by the head coach there of what's going on at that position. So Caraway made the switch to safety heading into fall camp. So maybe that was one indication for Florida. Hey, maybe we feel a little bit better at corner. We need more help. We need more competition at safety. That's how you just heard Billy Napier describe it there. So let's move Caraway there and get some more depth there. So Stubbs and Hayward, remember now, they went through spring with a ton of reps because of injuries. So Stubbs and Hayward got plenty of reps. Hilton Stubbs, interception in the spring game, making kind of plays like that through fall camp too. But, as a freshman, it's up and down. It's a roller coaster right now. Not sure how much Florida needs those guys this season. But here's the head coach stressing that those guys need to be ready to go. Need to be ready to go. So, also in this same media session today, Napier was asked about Aaron Gates. You heard him just mention right there that, hey, we got 4 guys that can start back there in the secondary, back in the safety spot. Jordan Castell, Bryce Thornton, Gates, Denson. But he was also asked about Aaron Gates. He said, quote, I think the kid has supplied the attitude, the effort, the self-discipline. And this is all about Gates coming back from injury here. Billy Napier goes on to say, I think he had an ACL injury his senior year, so he's been through it before. I think it gave him a bit of an advantage. Gates is just a machine. He's just a quiet, steady worker. He loves football. He wants to be back. We're still managing his workload. He didn't go through the entire day Saturday, so we're still managing his workload on how he feels. He's right on schedule. Says Aaron Gates is one of the best football players we have, so he said that twice today. Kam James and now Aaron Gates. So there we go. He says he could also play corner if we needed him to. So with all that, Napier did reveal that Gates is playing also now. Is playing some weak safety to go along with Starr. So if something happens on the back end where Gates needs to fill in there, you feel good about Starr because Denson, of course, is available there. Maybe the starter there. But Florida's got some options. Florida's got some options at nickel star with Gates and Denson, but Gates can move around. And it sounds like he may need to. If Hayward, Stubbs, Caraway are a little behind in their development, or if Castell, Thornton needs a breather, well, you can move some things around. But interesting, the nickel star part, Napier clarifying, hey, those guys can play safety too. If we need them to play safety, they can play safety at the same time. But we do need those young guys to eventually break through. Now, injuries start happening. Like I said, at the point, I don't know if you need the development of Hayward and Stubbs to be ready right away. But injuries happen. We've seen the struggles there. I mean, the safety play okay at best at times in recent defenses at Florida. Hasn't been outstanding. We thought Jordan Castell from year 1 to year 2 would take the jump. Instead, had a sophomore slump. Did get better, as did the defense as the season went on. He's one more player, as in this whole defense, that, hey, can you pick up where you left off? But he's a leader, going into his 3rd year. Played a ton of football. Has led Florida in snaps, I believe, his first 2 years. Has Jordan Castell. So he's played a lot. He's been able to stay healthy. But if something happens back there, and we've seen a litany of injuries last year in the secondary, Lagonza Hayward, Hilton Drake Stubbs, MichaelCaraway, Billy Napier said, we got to get those guys ready. We got to get those guys ready. All right, keep it on right here. Let's go back to the offensive side of the ball. Let's go with some trench talk. Kind of summarizing everything Billy Napier had to say today, and things that just caught my eye, caught my ear here a little bit. Billy Napier was asked about the guard play. The interior of the offensive line. And Napier says, Roderick Kearney, been having a good camp. Cam Waits, having a good camp, backing up Najee Harris and Damian George. Napier says they got 4 good guards. Feel comfortable. And I've been hearing Roderick Kearney has been really bringing it. A player that it's taken a while. He had to go through kind of somewhat of a body transformation, kind of a more of an athletic guy, had to get a little bit bigger. Making that transition from Orange Park High to Gainesville. Maybe some question of where he would play. So he gets signed at Florida. We're thinking he's the center. Had to play center. Remember that now. While he was injured a little bit, his freshman season. Had some struggles in that spring game. But then Florida signs Jason Zandamela last year. So that opens the door for Roderick Kearney to move to guard. And apparently he's taking it with flying colors. Zandamela has mainly been working at center, Billy Napier, while asked about the guards, brought up Jason Zandamela on his own and said, hey, we got a good guy at center too. Feel good about what he's doing. But it's the competition Billy Napier feels really good about. Because they get to go against we just talked about it, a pretty good defensive line. He said, quote, it's a battle every day. I feel good about the competitive depth at that position for sure. We're talking about the interior of the offensive line. So, Florida stayed pretty healthy along the offensive line last year. Didn't have to go too far down the depth chart. Now we hope that happens again. Can you be that fortunate 2 years in a row? But you got to start in 5 you feel pretty good about. But, in asking around, it's been said, Florida feels pretty good 8-9 deep on the offensive line right now. Now you want your starters, you guys, especially your Jake Slaughters and your Austin Barbers who came back for this to stay healthy, to take a next step. There's steps for this offensive line to take. As high as we are on 4 or 5 guys coming back. Well, one reason I'm high on that is there's another step for those guys to take, and I think that step comes from cohesion, playing together a whole nother year. I think pass blocking could be run blocking. I think you got a baseline. It's going to be pretty good in a Billy Napier offense. And they took steps to get better there last year, but I'm looking for that step in pass blocking. Where are they going to be in pass blocking? Because we can admit, DJ Lagway saved some sack numbers for that offensive line last year. Shoving LSU Tigers away. Shoving off Ole Miss Rebels. Shoving off Florida State Seminoles in that 3-game while he's basically out there playing on one leg. We can admit, there probably should have been some higher sacks, but DJ Lagway's out there making plays. Let's get that offensive line take another step in pass protection as well. But have 4 or 5 guys coming back. And it's not like you're starting a transfer there at right tackle with Bryce Lovett. He's been in the program. So you're not trying to fit somebody there who hasn't been in the program either. You got 4 or 5 returning, and the guy who is filling in for the right tackle spot has been in the program, knows the expectations, has been developed for it. See that group take a next step. Let's keep it going here. Last topic we'll hit on. The coaches poll came out. USA Today coaches poll. Billy Napier was asked about that as well. And you know what comes along with it? The hype, the expectations, Florida being talked about in a pretty positive light for the first time in quite a while. Billy Napier was asked about, hey, coach, team's ranked 17th in the coaches poll. How you guys going about it?
Yeah, I think for our team, it's important that we're focused on our process and not necessarily others' opinion. I think if we connect our confidence to others' opinions of ourselves and our team, then we'll not end up being the best that we can be. I think we have to work each day. If we can keep stacking days and focus on today, then that turns into a good week, turns into a good month. You look up, maybe you have a good season. So, maybe we're better than that. Maybe we're not. Obviously we don't live in that world. You guys do. But certainly it's good to get a little attention. But we know it doesn't matter. We're going to have to spot the ball and go compete and earn it on the field.
Spot the ball. There's the mantra again. And look, I agree with him. And it is coach speak. It is, but it needs to be said because it is the realization. This team needs to have the same mentality that they had going into November of last year. Had some close losses against Tennessee and Georgia. 2 rivals. Coulda, shoulda, woulda won those games. Get smacked by Texas. It's not looking good. You don't know if you got your quarterback. Your quarterback comes back. You got a string of home games. But nobody's picking Florida to beat LSU. Nobody's picking Florida to beat Ole Miss. Now, okay. You win those 2 games. You feel better about beating Florida State. You probably were beating Florida State anyway. And then you get Tulane in the bowl game. So you started hearing some good things after those 2 big wins. And Florida still handled business against FSU and against Tulane. But you need to have that same mentality that you had leaving Austin, Texas last year when everything just did not seem to be going right for Florida. Just did not seem to be going right. No matter what was happening, yeah, the team was playing better. Yeah, there were some close losses, but you just got your brains beat in. Where's this thing going? You had a vote of confidence from Scott Strickland, but you still didn't really know what it meant in the grand scheme of things. Well, team put their head down. Team kept on playing. That needs to be the same mantra. Needs to be the same process. Everything moving forward. Everything that happened last November needs to be happening again this offseason. I can sit here and talk about Florida being ranked in that magazine, this ranking, that ranking. We're going to. That's what we do. But inside that building, I'm not the players. I'm not the coaches. We can sit here and talk about it. We can have fun with it. I hope in that stadium and in that nice facility, they're putting the work in. Just like they were and shoving out all the negative mojo. Well, it's positive mojo this time. But you got to shield yourself away from it one more time and go put the work in. So let's take a look at that preseason coaches poll. The initial 2025 preseason coaches poll, Florida right there at 17th. If you're looking at it, if you're watching along on YouTube, the teams in bold are teams that Florida will face. But let's go through it. Number 1 is Texas. And of course, Florida's got that big matchup with them coming to the swamp. Number 2, Ohio State. So the preseason coaches poll, week 1, you will have number 1, Texas, traveling to take on Ohio State. Number 1 versus number 2, as far as the coaches poll goes, will be opening up the season. Penn State comes in at number 3, Georgia at number 4. I mean, those top 4 teams all play each other. Or in combination, you got Texas and Ohio State and Penn State, and you have Texas and Georgia playing each other. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'll take that. I will take that. A lot of top 10 matchups to go along with this as well, but let's go through it. Notre Dame comes in at number 5. Clemson, number 6. Oregon checks in at 7. Alabama at 8. LSU at 9. Miami at 10. Arizona State comes in at 11. 12th is Illinois. South Carolina comes in at 13. Michigan is 14th. Ole Miss, 15th. SMU, 16th, right there, one spot ahead of Florida, who is at 17, of course. 18, right behind Florida, is rival Tennessee. Indiana is number 19. At number 20, Kansas State. Another Florida opponent. 21 is Texas A&M. Iowa State comes in at 22. 23rd is BYU. 24, Texas Tech. And 25 is Boise State. So there you go. Florida plays number 1, number 4, number 9, number 10, number 15, number 18, number 21. 7 teams in this preseason coaches poll Florida faces. More than half of the schedule is ranked in the top 25. Number 1, Texas. Number 4, Georgia. Number 9, LSU. Number 10, Miami. Number 15, Ole Miss. Number 18, Tennessee. And number 21, Texas A&M. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. We've followed it. We've chronicled it ever since we got the word last year. Hey, the schedule's going to be pretty much the same next year. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. Now you can look at the schedule, and in some ways you can go. And we've talked about this a lot, but we'll talk about it again. In some ways, maybe it's not as hard as last season. To me, as we talk right here about teams maybe too high, too low. Well, for Florida, I'd have Florida a little bit higher. I don't think Ole Miss should be in front of Florida. I don't think Michigan should be in front of Florida. I question South Carolina, but I can buy it. Miami, I question it with everything that they lost. So I'd have Florida probably hovering in that 10, 11 range, which is about what we saw all throughout the offseason in the preseason magazine and stuff. You saw Florida in that range. I kind of agreed with it. But it doesn't matter. You got to go there. put the work in, find yourself in the top 12 of college football playoff rankings. Those will work itself out. But Alabama as low as 8. Georgia as high as 4. Clemson 6. I'd probably have Clemson a little bit higher. I'd probably switch them with... Sounds blasphemous, but maybe switch them with Georgia. Get Ohio State, everything that they lost last year, they take a slide down. I'd have Clemson in my top 5. Can't argue too much about the top 10 in how I wouldn't have Miami that high. That's the biggest one to me as far as the whole top 10 goes. I think you can shuffle, 1 through 6, and you're fine. And however it shakes out, I'd be fine. I couldn't have Notre Dame number 1. I've seen Clemson number 1 and some of that with everything they return and playing in the ACC. Now, for me, when you look at these coaches polls like this, in earnest, for me, they should be power polls. You should not factor in schedule. Because this is how we think the season will finish. This is a going into the season, this is where we think the teams are. Now, maybe they do. I'm not saying they don't here. But I'm saying if I was to put one together like this, it would be more of a power poll. Schedule should not matter when you're coming up with your first poll, your initial poll of the season. But for Florida, you got 7 of them right there in the 2025 preseason coaches poll. What you guys think? Too high, too low for Florida? What other teams? I mean, here's the thing. I wouldn't even have Tennessee ranked. They're 1 spot below Florida. I wasn't high on Tennessee to begin with, even with Nico coming back with everything they've lost on offensive line, Dylan Sampson at running back. They'll be pretty good on defense like they have been, but I think they take a step back there as well. I'm just not that high on Tennessee. I would have Tennessee ranked with Nico. I think they would have taken a step back. But now with the quarterback situation there and Aguilar, I don't see it with Tennessee. I think now their schedule, they catch a schedule break. And maybe that keeps them ranked. But I'm just not that high on the Vols. I was higher on them last year, and it kind of worked out. I thought Nico would be better. I didn't know it would be Dylan Sampson carrying that offense. But I was higher on Tennessee last year. But this year, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. JR says preseason rankings don't mean anything. No, they don't, especially in Florida's case. You got a schedule. But here's the thing. In some ways, they do mean something. In some ways, they do. You want that narrative, the narrative of the SEC to always be that it's a tough conference to play in. And look, it's going to take a lot and many years for that to go away. But we saw it last year when there was a pod of 9-3 teams that didn't make it into the college football playoff. In some ways, you want that narrative of the big, bad, tough conference to always be there. And maybe that's the hair that gets split in your favor. Oh, but yeah, I don't know. What you guys think? Good? Florida ranking 17th? Jordan Jordan, I don't want to mispronounce the last name there. Penny? Hope I said that right. If I didn't, I apologize. Use it as fuel, he says. Illinois, South Carolina, Michigan, ranked ahead is a slap in the face. I mean, the way South Carolina ended last year, I can buy it. I can buy the Lenore Sellers hype. I think he's a pretty good quarterback in and of itself. Illinois beat them in a bowl game. Now, granted, if you want, that's why I said power ranking wise, I probably would have Florida in them. Now, if I am to look forward and go to a end of the season thing, maybe Florida's schedule does hold them back compared to those teams. Michigan, yeah, maybe a little bit too much credit for beating Ohio State in that final game. Their offense was putrid last year. Now, granted, New Year, and all that for Michigan. But yeah, that's a little too high for me, coming from where they're coming from last year as well. I'd definitely have them ranked. Bryce Underwood now in the mix there at quarterback. I'd have them ranked. I don't know if I'd have them ranked that high. Ye old Bast says he's cracking me up with little jabs at the media. Yeah, I noticed that too. When Napier there taking some friendly barbs. It was not anything personal at all. But I noticed it too. I did notice it as well. And good for him. Have a little fun with it. All right. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Candles Don't Lie says, ready for a great season, Dave. Man, me too. Me too. It's been way too long. Way too long since we just had week after week after week of fun. That's what I'm looking forward to. It's there's been this high, it's been a roller coaster. There's been some high moments. I want what we had starting LSU week last year. I want that a lot that's coming up here. I want to be able to go stretches of having some good fun and some wins. It's been a while. 2020 we had our fun. For all the things about Dan Mullen, we had fun. We had fun covering this team in 2018, 2019, 2020. We had fun being a fan. It got a little aggravating the longer it went on. But there was still some fun to be had. I want to have some fun again. I want to have some fun. Like, it's always fun in its own way of being able to do this and being a fan. But let's have the fun this time be about some winning. We've kind of just been downtrodden. We've made our own fun. That might be the best way to put it. We've made our own fun. Let's have the team make some more fun for us now. It's all there for the opportunity to take advantage. Let's go do it. I'm ready for a great season 2, man. I'm ready for a great season 2. All right, everybody, that'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. Thanks for checking in one more time. Hearing from Billy Napier on DJ Lagway, on the right track, some Kam James hype, coaches poll, all that good stuff right here on this episode of Gators Breakdown. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave__SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.